Pasta, you're mean. You're a mean, bad person. I can't believe you're on my show. You're canceled. You want to know why?
Why?
Because you're mean to AOC.
Okay, gotcha.
You've hurt her feelings. Jimmy Dore, shame on you. You hurt her feelings. Due Dissidents, that's right, Russell and Keaton. I'm calling you out. You hurt her feelings. The whole crew at INN, especially Colin Rags Carter, shame on you. And RBN, Nick and Rome, I love you guys, but you're hurting AOC's feelings. It was great to meet you guys, but you're hurting her feelings. And my audience, shame on all of you. Who taught you how to talk like this and be mean? Shame on all of you. Because, hold on, because this was retweeted out by AOC, but this is absolutely pure gold because she gave a response. Why do leftists attack you despite multiple Palestinian rights groups ranking you as number one of Congress's best? The bestest. Okay. All right. So this is a must read. This is understandably a very challenging time for a lot of people. And there are likely a few reasons, probably more than I can list here. Number one, I'm an elected official in the U.S. government. That is a fact. You don't say. No matter how opposed I am to what is happening, criticism will be there. You don't say. I get that. You get it. But you are correct. I have one of the strongest vote records in Congress on Palestinian human rights and voting against the bloated U.S. military budgets, both overall and against unconditional military aid to the Israeli government, which is why she voted present for the Iron Dome. When she voted no, Nancy wagged her finger in her face and she cried. And at a time when AIPAC dedicated $100 million in booting out members of Congress who stood for Palestinian human rights this year and successfully unseated two, that matters. We need to grow and defend our ranks to do more. Well, gee, maybe if you guys actually did force the vote, you would have more people in your ranks. I don't know, because that's why, again, Matt Gaetz proved that it could work. The Republican Matt Gaetz proved force the vote works, and force the vote was a DSA tactic, and Matt Gaetz proved that it could work. Gee, AOC, maybe you could have used that. Number two, my favorite number. There's a lot of disinformation going around, which is why she's all on board for censorship. A lot of people are getting news from random viral social media posts, which is how you got started, AOC. I remember when you showed up on TYT, the Jimmy Dore Show, and a few others. I mean, that's how you got started, AOC, which, given how censored this issue has been in mainstream media for so long, I understand, but not all of it is legit. Oh, man, I got to share this with Jimmy. Please understand that there is a lot of nefarious stuff getting amplified along with the legitimate stuff too. When I was in Chicago, this protester broke into a restaurant I was eating at and demanded to know when I would call it a genocide. I actually did so months ago when you were confronted like what, in a movie theater? In a high-profile House floor speech that was covered a lot of news. This kind of thing happens a lot. Disinformation hurts movements from the inside and discredits them from the outside. It's important to check. It's everywhere. 3, repair is hard. It's so hard, guys. That's what she said. It is so easy in the short term to dispose of people and toss them in the trash the moment you don't like something. We are all human. Oh, wow. Isn't that special? Hey, we're all human. It's easier to be pissed off, language, AOC, off on the internet than actually build community and power around a just cause. So when RBN does its, community organizing and grassroots organizing and, doing community outreach and community building, I guess that's just them just messing around, right? Or when Due Dissidents does some good, or when, again, when Jimmy Dore did the whole force to vote, when 100,000 plus people tuned in to talk about their story across the political spectrum about how they're being screwed over by the healthcare insurance industry. But okay, whatever. I guess that just doesn't count as nothing. But if we actually want to change things, we need to get real about building power. And you can't build power by creating a punitive, angry, explosive, focus cultures that we seek to replace. It will require new skills from us. Like what? It's not enough to be right. We need to be right and win. I believe that we have a moral obligation to be effective, in addition to having a just stance. Otherwise, who are we doing this for? We must accomplish, build, strengthen, repair, grow, win, survive. And that is hard work. And we are going to disagree on the way. If we can't learn to handle that in good faith, we will stay small, and we owe the people we are fighting for way more than that. Pasta, are you ready to apologize, you awful man?
No. No. Not at all. AOC was all for censorship. I think you said that halfway through, and her Dems, her little friends, went along with it, and that's the big problem right now. And they tend to go along with a lot of things. And this is not a virtue signal by any means. This is genocide that people are speaking up against. But it's already a runaway train. She's already where she's at, and she's supported on so many awful issues from the left. So I mean. What do you expect at this moment in time? I still bet a lot of people will support her, still finance her. You know what I'm saying? But AOC is just still, listen, these are culture war Congress critters, right? They understand, where people are moved. They're not moved by policy. They're moved by feelings. But sometimes it's going to get a little bit caught up, in the guff because, quite frankly, when you don't have the policies to back up, human rights of a certain, type of people, especially when it comes to the Gaza situation, when you're not going to back up Palestinians, it's going to come back to haunt you. And that's what's going on right now. People are calling her out on her BS.
I also want to pull this up here as well. Again, Anon user 5860 on Bumble. Her bullshit ghostwriter author gets paid well. Hey, you know what? Hey, any way to make it. But look, here, I want to pull this up here because this happened in Chicago. And I seriously wish, she didn't do the thumbs up because, again, perception drives reality. I don't know which one was worse, when she got confronted in the movie theater or this right here in Chicago.
Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. You think how many more kids have to die to call a genocide? Don't touch me. How many more kids? Get out of here. How many more kids, AOC? How many more kids have to die for you to call it a genocide? How many more kids? Don't touch me. How many more kids have to die for you to call it a genocide?
Okay. So what's going to happen, dude? She calls it a genocide. How is that going to change anything?
How many more kids?
Why aren't they concentrating on policy? This is what I mean about the American left. Okay, we already know that AOC is full of shit. We can sit here and watch these videos all day long. We know she's full of it. We got it. But what's with the person pushing her? So she calls it a genocide. What is that going to do in Congress? You know what I'm saying? How are we going to change anything systemically if we just call it a genocide? You can call it whatever you want. Children dying, ethnic cleansing. I understand language goes a long way, but we need the actions to back up the actual framing, the actual words, the actual situation. So it's, what I'm saying? I don't understand this. This is just more BS over here as well. I mean, even the person going after him, call it a genocide. What does that mean? How do we change the genocide from stop it from happening? That's the question.
I also want to pull this up here too, because this is commentary from Scott Ryder as well.
The conclusion that I've come to is having more people suffer to put on top of the already horrific suffering that's going on in Gaza is not something that I think I'm comfortable with.
The absolute moral vacancy that exists in the soul of this woman. She's trivialized genocide, literally trivialized genocide. She is justified murder in many ways. I mean, this is a horrible response. She doesn't care about the people of Palestine. She doesn't care about the people in Gaza. She cares about domestic American politics. She uses the dead Gazan children as window dressing. It's like having a purse or a fur coat. It's an accessory. Look, I wrap myself in the suffering of the Palestinian people, but only superficially because I'm more concerned about these other issues. I'm not here to defend Trump at all. And Trump has said horrible things about Gaza, including the statement that AOC talked about. And Trump needs to be condemned and held to a higher standard. Very difficult thing to do when the Republican Party seems to be hell-bent on, continuing the policies. But the Republican genocide is theoretical. It's potential. The real genocide is a Democratic genocide. It's carried out by the Biden administration. Donald Trump has nothing to do with what the Biden administration has facilitated and permitted.
Yes, and I want to make that very clear here because here's what really pissed me off about before the DNC convention took place in Pasta. I think even we talked about it before you flew into Chicago. You had pro-Palestinian protesters protest in front of Trump Tower. Trump, this didn't happen under his watch, okay? Now, if Trump wins, okay, then he's commander in chief, and then he has to answer like, what will he do about it? But this is not Trump's fault, and AOC is going to bat for an administration that is allowing this to happen. Pasta, I want to give you the final word. Are we just being too mean and too critical of AOC?
No, I've already said everything I have to say. This is the same thing. We can bag on AOC all the time.
Mhm.
There's nothing substantial over there. You know what I mean? Scott Ritter hit it on the nose. It's about policy. What are you going to do? What policies are you going to enact to stop this genocide? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
If she was really serious about it, and he mentioned it really well, she's cloaking herself in the, with dead Palestinian children because, they allowed this stuff to get this far. All of them, all the squad, the whole Democratic Party. They can go. It took them so long to get to a ceasefire. This is something that should have been stopped before it happened, and it was already in play. So, I'm done with the lip service. We know this.
Mm-hmm.
We can play video after video all the time, and all the Democratic supporters, those ones are out there that were saying, "Call it a genocide. Call it a genocide." It just shows you, they went along with the censorship. They went along with the hate speech stuff. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing substantial about AOC or her followers. And there's really nothing substantial about a lot of the Democrats, the blue, no matter who people right now. They're not pushing for any policy. They just care about feelings. That one person going around the DNC asking questions, name me a policy that you love about Kamala Harris. Nobody can say anything. You know what I'm saying? Nobody can say a damn thing. So this is just the same run-of-the-muck stuff. AOC, have fun with it. I'm done. I don't even waste my time with AOC anymore. She's just fugazi. We know she's a fake.
The reason why I still at least follow a little bit along, because I find it to be absolutely fascinating that I'm witnessing a successor to Nancy Pelosi being created in real time. And Nancy Pelosi's been involved in DC politics for since Kennedy was around, okay? JFK. And yet here we have AOC, who ran on the momentum of Bernie Sanders in 2016, was set up with Fat Tony and Dime Store Eminem. That's Cenk Uygur and Kyle Kalinske, with the Justice Democrats, gets into power, has this huge celebrity tour, and then is transformed slowly over time. And again, this was all probably one big setup to become the next Nancy, the next Democrat. And people of our generation, your generation, my generation, the next generation, got hypnotized by it. And it just tells me, just the words of wisdom that I've heard from my elders, that the more things change, the more they will say the same. But folks, listen, you heard it here first from Hard Lens Media. It is okay to be mean. So when people ask you, where'd you learn it from? You learned it from watching Hard Lens Media. Shame on you awful people. Shame on all of you.
If you fool me once, it's because I didn't think a guard was needed. If you fool me twice, it's because I didn't learn the lesson, so it bears repeating. If you try the same play 3 times running, it's because you know what's coming, and you didn't come to lead, you came to purposefully be misleading. Democracy is dry, it's been a century bleeding. The husk is gaping open to the sky, out in the field where all the sheep just keep on circling and worrying and bleeding. They're waiting for the shepherd that they've tried to hide their faith in, but he's so appealing. They'd gladly give their fleece. It's such a freeing feeling that even when he leads them to the ledge and starts to urge them on, they're positively beaming. They were told that they were on their way to save democracy, so even as they plummet, they just gloat. They don't consider screaming. And halfway up the cliff, the shepherd's cozy little mittens wrap around the staff of shattered human hopes on which he's leaning. He shows the gentle grin that used to stir your inner spark, and he says, not me, us, as he gestures to the oligarchs. He knows that if he runs, they're going to stop him like a stolen car. And he'll easily surrender because it bought a lot of time for laying mines in all the grassroots. Suddenly, the tiniest of movements gets you blown apart. Suddenly, you're in a play that's set on an election day, and voting for the fire, unaware you're playing Joan of Arc. Suddenly, the shepherd pulls the rug and slips a hood across your clueless mug, and everything goes zero dark. I'm gonna warn you once more before it's 2024 and you fuck around and find out who your heroes are. To take a step back from the herd and you'll learn that you can spot who all the shearers are. If you really want to know the product that they're selling, I can take you where the mirrors are. If you think your voice is finally ready, I can tell you where the lyrics are. I hid them in a box I had to bury neath the cobble when they carpet bombed the promenade and raided all the street bazaars. Now all we've got's the marketplace, and you're too broke to even bother asking what the options for your treatment are. Suddenly, the raw debris of homeless human dignity will find it has 100 teeth for every badge and sweeper's arm. Suddenly, they speak in solidarity and each is armed. Suddenly, the sheep can see the shepherd for his truest form and all pitch in at once to help him buy the farm. And now it's zero dark, and all is calm and peaceful save the distant wail of sirens that approach beside the flames of dawn. Suddenly, the carrot's just a string that's on a stick, and all your movements make you sick because the prize is gone. Now, we could go and flee into the forest low and meek, or we can exercise our right to feast and go and graze on Biden's lawn. Because he's been sowing seeds that seep a toxin out to sap a bit from each of us and keep on leaching decades after Biden's gone. So regardless who they summon out of hell to come and do the job, it will not feel like Biden's gone. But in that time of hopelessness, you cannot trust the shepherd when he once again comes asking you to humor him his siren song. And it's cute that you can innocently, honestly assume that's just a symptom of a system that was wired wrong, and not the standard feature, basic function, primary objective of a mass hypnosis firebomb. You don't need to know the words to cry along. Someday it'll hit you like an officer who pistol whipped their ride along. Broke his jaw and kept his job and kept it moving right along. That voting isn't red or blue or black or white or right or wrong. Voting's like a firing squad where you can choose the firearm. It's slow extinction by and large. It's Super Tuesday supercharged. It's all your futures, roots and all, just tossed out on a garbage barge. It's everybody dropping out to push the biggest oligarch. It's everybody voting fire, registered as Joan of Arc.